Welcome back to the big show, everybody. Video game reviews. It's been like 3 months since my last episode, so I want to appreciate you all for hanging in there. I don't know how or why, I just randomly got the gumption to do another episode here, finally. And yes, I am congested, so it's not even, ideal circumstances, but, I found a little bit of gumption, and I just got to run with it while I've got it. So anyways, today we're going to be talking about The Legend of Steel Empire on the Nintendo Switch. And if you're unfamiliar with this, it is a 2D side-scrolling, well, it was originally a 2D side-scrolling Genesis shooter, and is actually my favorite 2D Genesis shooter. And I specify 2D because, unlike, I guess, popular consensus, I actually really like Space Harrier 2. I basically like every iteration of any Space Harrier game that I've ever played. But that's such a different game that I don't include that in the running. Anyways, so understand that there is definitely some nostalgia bias in this review. I just always had a fondness for the original game, and I always felt like it was kind of like a underrated gem. I don't know if, especially back in the day, I don't know that I would call it a hidden gem, but it definitely didn't get the hype that I thought it deserved. Like, it wasn't particularly innovative in a lot of ways. It was just very, very solid and has kind of a unique vision, as you can see. It's got this steampunk setting, and I just felt like it handled that better than most games that I've seen it done in, which also I kind of feel like it's an underrepresented setting within games, or certainly I have not played all that many steampunk games, and it's just a cool aesthetic. It just is, and so because of that, Steel Empire, both the original and this remake on the Switch, it just has a lot of personality, similar to Panzer Dragoon in that way, or a lot of Sega properties. Sega was very, very good at creating characters, and I would say more than characters, they were good at creating worlds that just had a really strong sense of identity and personality. And Steel Empire, which was not produced by Sega, but it was a Genesis exclusive, and it is no exception to that, that particular strength of theirs in terms of just having style for days and just being a little unusual and not like every other thing out there. Now, a couple of miscellaneous points, I do just want to mention that the bosses here are spongy, but they always were. They were in the original game too. And what that means, if you're not familiar, it just means that they take a lot of hits. Steel Empire, I would say, is more about defense than offense. It's more about surviving and, not getting hit, just trying to take the least amount of damage that you can. A lot of point bonuses and such are based around that, not necessarily picking up the power-ups and, don't use your bombs and all that sort of thing, which you don't have to do that, but that's just kind of what they chose to incentivize because they understood the nature of the game they were making, which is so important. Whereas opposed to, other shoot-'em-ups, which may incentivize offense by giving point bonuses for speed, for how quickly you complete the level, which, as far as I can tell, Steel Empire doesn't even keep track of, I don't think, or if it does, it doesn't really do anything with that as far as points or any other rewards, so that's what you would be getting into here. Now, the music, I will say, in this remake is mostly inaudible because of the awesome, crunchy sound effects. The sound effects here are really quite satisfying, and they always were, even for a Genesis game, with the obvious audio limitations of that system. Like, I think that's one of the things that really made this game click for me back in the day, is that, the sound effects were just really impactful and just satisfying. It just felt good to play. So I don't mind this. I don't mind sacrificing the soundtrack for for sound effects that are just basically drowning it out. Now, you can fix that, of course, if you want to in the options. You can set the sound effect versus music balance, and that's fine. But I really didn't mind it this way, because as I remember the soundtrack back on the Genesis being really a very mixed bag, which ranged from quite good, really, on some tracks, like very good, to being absolutely awful on other tracks. So I could take it or leave it, as long as I got those sweet, crunchy sound effects, that's fine. The redone visuals are very respectful of the original aesthetics while giving them a pleasant modern level of polish. The option to switch the visuals back and forth between, the original and the remake would be nice, I guess. But I feel that they did such a faithful job to the original style that I don't really see that as a necessity or even an important feature in this place. They've done it such that you're just playing a slightly more polished version of the original game, and it looks great. If you're looking for a great old school shooter option that doesn't really fit into the bullet hell category, then Steel Empire is a great option until the final boss, which is honestly kind of bullet hell, but it's fine. And just to be clear, it always was. And if you are looking for more of a challenging experience that, definitely would border on more of a bullet hell type of game, there is a hard mode. And after you complete the game once, there is a very hard mode. So you have options. This is a relatively simple-ish or straightforward shooter, but in a good way. You can move your aircraft, of course. You can shoot left or right, which is kind of like the big quote-unquote innovation with this game. Not to say that it was the first one to do that, but it wasn't really common among side-scrolling shoot-'em-ups. So it was definitely a nice feature, still is. And you can drop bombs, and that's it. But I do love that about this game. Also, if you collect 3 power-ups, you gain a level, and levels are permanent. So you don't acquire different weapons. All you can ever do is power up your default weapon, and it just becomes, just stronger, and you get options alongside your ship, and just more firepower, but it's just more of the same. And look, while I definitely have an appreciation for more quote unquote modern classics like Ikaruga, Radiant Silvergun, and Cinemora EX, which feature somewhat more complex or sophisticated systems. As you may know, if you've seen my channel before, I think there is a lot to be said for executing the basics really well. And, well, I do definitely admit to some nostalgia bias here. I think The Legend of Steel Empire absolutely does that. It absolutely is an example of a game that just does the basics, does them really well, puts them in an interesting or unusual setting, comes up with some cool ship designs or aircraft designs, and that's pretty much what it does. But it's just like a very solid old school shooter. Now, I will say that it does sell on the eShop for $25, which I do think is probably a little too much, to be honest, despite all the praise I've given this game. Like, in today's market, no. I got it on sale for $15, which does feel about right to me. And bear in mind that it is not a particularly long or difficult game, in my opinion, but it's an easy one to pick back up from time to time. Because it's short, because it's not like, breaking your stones with how insanely difficult it is. It's just like, it's a good challenge, but it's not crazy difficult or anything. Because of all that, that's, to me, is what kind of makes it a game that you're just like, yeah, I just feel like chilling out, having a good time, relaxing, shooting some aircraft, whatever. So here's really the big question. If you already have convenient access to the Genesis version of Steel Empire, is this remake worth it? And honestly, Probably not. I don't know if Steel Empire is on the Genesis emulator for the people out there who have the expanded online Nintendo accounts. But if it is, okay, if the original one is available on that service and you've already got it right there on your Switch, then honestly, I cannot justify buying this remake. Now, if you're like me and you don't have the Genesis Online Pass thing, then this remake is probably, I mean, in my opinion, it is worth wish listing and picking up on a discount. I'm glad that I did. I mean, I'm already finished with it, but I had a really good time, and it was just super fun to revisit this game again and to just have it on my Switch now. It is definitely not going to get uninstalled. It's just a classic, man. I just like to have it right there. Anyways, that about does it for this one. Thanks for tuning back in to my little hobby channel here. Please click like and subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you guys next time, whenever that may be. And just a heads up, I have no idea what next time is going to be, but hopefully I'll see you then. Bye-bye.